welcome to Critical ReRoll, the Critters podcast for critters by critters, where we talk Critical Role. This is episode 110, discussing episode 34, Campaign 2, Critical Role. And I'm excited, and there's some other people here also feeling things.
I'm Ben, and I'm scared that if I mess up this intro, Jess might just kill me.
I'm Jess, and I'm in charge of streaming today, so I just want things not to explode!
And I'm Herky, and I don't have emotions.
Fair enough. Okay, so, like I said, episode 34, we're still... we already saw our awesome Marion Lavore, went to Wayfinder's Cove, and we got to see our first ever turtle! That's how this episode starts. With our awesome new turtle bard. Orly Skiffback basically is described as having an eye patch. Jester immediately asks how he got said eye patch, and he tells her that she has to buy him a drink before she gets that info. I
love Jester.
Yes.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah, go.
Let's talk about his eye first. We can continue about the rest of this conversation. But is it just me, or did they never find out how he lost his eye?
It's
Correct.
true!
That's how this conversation started, and they never actually completed it. Did they just forget midway through the conversation that that's the reason she went over there to talk to him?
Is that really all that odd, though, for the Critical Role cast to start in one way and then completely ignore it halfway through a conversation because they get sidetracked?
Somewhat. I thought maybe I just missed something because I wasn't paying the best attention, but I'm pretty sure they just completely forgot about it. But also, Turtle Gambit, I want him to be my new BFF.
Yes! Oh my god, if Matt just wants to read me stories in that voice forever, I will be happy. I love it so much. There was so much character and flavor. I loved it. I love Orly.
He was a very fun character. I really enjoyed that he plays the bagpipes. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Were either of you at the fireside where he was created?
Yes,
I did watch it. Yes.
I was not. So this is all brand new to me.
Yeah. I now that you bring it up, I realize he's from the fireside chat because I didn't put two and two together until right now.
I saw people talking about it, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! Now remembering that fireside chat, I see all the pieces coming together. How they decided to go with Tortle, and then how they decided to go with Bard, and then how they decided to go with that he plays the bagpipes and that he has an eye patch.
Mm-hmm.
Those were four of the main characteristics that he had, and Matt brought them out super prominently, but then also gave him a super he wasn't such a campy character either. He was his own living, breathing thing that had to do with the story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he was super cool.
Yeah. And I love that he introduced not only that accent, that sort of Creole accent, but he gave him a stutter, and it was really good and not the sort of thing, like you said, he wasn't campy, he wasn't over the top ridiculous. I was I love him already, and I know that the that the team already, the whole party does too, because I think at one point Travis is we must protect this turtle at all costs.
Yeah. Finally, there's an NPC that Travis adores. It's his Kiri.
Yeah.
It's true. So from Orly, they do get some information about Marius Leploy, who they never stopped kind of pronouncing that name questionably.
They never got it.
No. And there's another one or two later on that they are not good with names. Okay,
No.
They're just really bad.
They're better off just calling them stupid shit, because at least then it's funny and they know what they're saying.
Yeah.
That actually leads into a funny comment that we got for one of our Google Doc comments that we post on Twitter, asking, do you think that they will ever get Algar/Outdoors name right when they are actually talking to him? The answer is no.
No.
That they'll go up to him and be like, hey, you're Alfin, right? And even though they know they're wrong, they're going to continue that thing because that's what they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
It's a fun little insult when you don't like someone to call them by the wrong name on purpose.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's also not nice to do when you do like the person. Like, and it's funny because sometimes you see them struggling to legitimately try, and then I feel like sometimes they just give up.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's definitely true. As somebody who is notoriously bad with remembering names, it's really hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we do get information from Orly about Marius. And I think the thing that triggers it, because Matt describes Orly as starting to get very guarded as they're asking more and more questions. But then I think it's Caduceus saying, like, we don't want to be too much trouble. We have something. We're not even sure exactly. Like, it's kind of a weird situation. And Orly perks up and says that Marius is waiting for something. So this seems to fit that. And so Orly describes Marius to them as, what you're looking for is a tiny little half-elf fella. I can't do the voice, guys, don't you?
I don't know, that was pretty good. I was pretty happy with that.
Side of the
Keep
head
going.
shaved, big flop of blonde hair. So that's what we're looking for in Marius. But they never really get that far because they get more distracted on their focus for looking for the sluice weave. So that's another thing they keep asking for information on repeatedly. Yeah. But Ford and I think Caleb head over to the bar where there's another interesting character, guys. Described as sort of a rugged, ready-looking, piratey-looking, awesome, like, older lady with, like, wavy hair, kind of bleaching at the tips. And we've heard such a similar description to this before, and I know Kate is shouting it in chat right now because she has been shouting this since that description was first said, that it is Captain Adela, one of the only characters from the first campaign we've seen, because the only other one we've gotten is the book reference to Terry, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's the only real reference we've gotten, other than, like, there have been some guns, but guns are Yeah.
Oddly enough, it seems like Sam got it first and was, like, really nonchalant about it and was talking to Laura about it. And, like, so that whole side of the table kind of knew. And then, like, a minute or two later, like, Marisha snaps and Travis gets it. And it was really funny to see the realization on their faces.
Yeah, everyone gets really excited and they're like, oh my god. And I think it happened particularly after she said the name of her boat to the Dren Celavis. Yep. Which is a boat that, not these characters, but these people playing these characters have been on before.
Yep. So, it was really cool to see that throwback. Captain Adela was a pretty cool character in Campaign 1, I felt, whenever they were talking to her. And it's always nice to throw those little things in, even though it really has nothing, like, to do with the immediate story. It's a good world building tactic sometimes to give a little hint.
Yeah, it's like when you play a video game and then, like, you see an NPC of a character you played in the previous version of the game in the sequel, and you're like, oh, I remember that character, but they don't matter. They're just, like, sitting in an inn. Kind of cool.
Yeah, and also just that I like that we're 34 episodes in, and this is the first actual NPC from the first campaign that we've, like, full on confirmed met, right? That, like, it's awesome to have the possibility of bringing in those Easter eggs, but it's also awesome that, like, Matt hasn't been dousing us in them. It hasn't been over the top. It hasn't been ridiculous. It's been fairly natural. This was a fairly natural meeting. And
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. She's one of the few characters who might be over here in this different part of the world.
Exactly.
A lot of the other characters wouldn't really come over here because they already have roots. Like, it's a different continent. Travel is not like it is in today's world, where we have planes to take us easily. It requires weeks of sailing on ships. So.
Exactly. And I like that she referenced the fact that she was heading right back to Marquette, and I think Ford expressed some interest, but she only has one space on her ship for one more crewman. And Caleb expressed some interest, and she thought it was odd that a sailor such as Ford had his own accountant with him.
See, I would be that accountant someday. I would be that guy that like he's a real hero. I just keep track of the numbers.
Yep.
I thought it was weird that they like pressed so much about this potential trip because, I mean, do you really think any of them legitimately considered it? Like, they all have their own things that they're trying to do right now, and if she's going to be leaving, even, you know, not today, but within a week or something, like she said, they have like other business to attend to in that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird that they would really, you know, advance that conversation.
I think they might be looking for different story threads that they could pull on from her. It's possible that they could have gotten something like that she says out of that, and because she's a returning character, even though she's not a returning character to their characters, she's a returning character to the players. There's somebody that they can trust, like they just kind of unknowingly trust a little bit more, and they think that they might have some good story even if they don't. So I think that might be the reason that they push.
Makes sense. And then so Ford, getting this good conversation with Captain Adela, just throws it out there, asks if she knows a guy by the name of Sabian, and she is familiar with that name. She says, half-elf fella, never really been on my crew, but like I know him through. And she says another person, Cadmus Leland. So basically they have a few more threads to tug on. It's not like too much. They don't know exactly where anyone is. They get some bad vibes off all these names. Like, these aren't trustworthy folk. These aren't great people. Kind of known for, like, swiping shit off boats and stuff like that. Not great people, but at least Ford gets to start tipping towards a little bit more of his backstory. But then Adela has her attention taken away by, you know, a very interesting figure in the doorway. And then kabam, Ash is there. And I think this was one of the few times where I've actually been surprised that with Ash showing up. Because normally they're not good at hiding that.
Yeah, like they aren't good, or like Ashley's not good about it, or like it's very obvious that they have open space at the table. And like they still had that this episode, but it wasn't enough that I was like tipped off that there'd be someone joining them.
No, I can agree with that. I wasn't paying too much attention to like the actual video portion. I was definitely listening in on what was going on, and then I just hear like, "And Ashley, do you want to come? Do you want to come to the table?" I'm like, "What? Hold on!" And I had to like rewind like 30 seconds to make sure I got that correct.
Yeah.
They did a good job though with bringing her back, even if it was just for this episode. So
exactly. So they get to do some talking, some reminiscing. Yasha gets to meet all the new pets. Nugget pees on her just to like confirm that everything's all good.
Yeah, Yasha gets to talk to Clay, which is a big character-driven moment because Clay, in Yasha's eyes, is Molly's replacement. And while that may be the case on the outside, it doesn't really underlie all the reasons for him being there. So it's definitely good that they were able to get talking, and that Yasha was calmed down enough to have that conversation.
Yeah, as it always is, whenever Ashley comes back, there's a lot of questioning about what Yasha's doing and where she's going, and usually a pretty long conversation that kind of gets nowhere, and that similarly happens here. We kind of learn that she's had dreams about islands and she kind of needs to go there, but that's really it. But for now, she's also interested in kicking Algar's ass, so we kind of proceed with there. My favorite part of that whole interaction was her little mimicry of Jester's messages that she apparently got but didn't realize that they were real and didn't really understand what they were saying.
That was funny.
Her Jester impression's really funny.
It was actually really, really good. I mean, I know they're all professional voice actors, but still, sometimes it's so great. It's so great when they get to like whip out their skills.
I think Ashley sometimes underlies how good she is at improv. Like she doesn't always seem like, I don't know. I feel like she is actually really good at just going with the flow of whatever situation, and she has to be able to do what she does with as high of level as they play RP wise. So
yeah, she hasn't really played characters that really leave her much opportunity. So I was hoping that she would kind of get something more of that this campaign, but Yasha is another character who doesn't really talk to a lot of people and have like big dreams and intertwined stories and outgoing and charismatic. So we might need to wait a little while before we actually get to see something like that from Ashley. But in the meantime, this is pretty good, and she's always funny.
Yeah, and Yasha, she found a good way to still make Yasha funny, but also make it such that she can come in and out and be like, and still be part of the group.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And like you were saying, Ben, her talk with Caduceus and actually Kate, Kate the host, who's in chat right now, pointed out Caduceus calling her out about Destiny was awesome. He asked her, like, do you believe in Destiny? And she was like, no. And he was like, but you see islands and apparently you want to go to them, right? Like, because basically that's what she's doing here. She's like, well, I just had visions about water and an island. So clearly she's headed towards, she's getting messages from her god. And Ford is interested in that part. He's like, you talk to the Stormlord? Like, this is all like really... It's what's interesting to me is that it's interesting to the different characters in different ways, that they all tug on different aspects of her and what she's doing and how she's acting. And
yeah, and speaking of Caduceus, the way Taliesin plays him, like being an extremely high wisdom character, is amazing. I don't really understand how he does it and how he is so quick at coming up with things like that, but it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, because he plays the high wisdom, low intelligence really well, which sometimes a lot of people try to equate them and like try to play both of them even when only one skill is really high. He's doing a really good job of differentiating what would be intelligence versus which would be natural wisdom. And Taliesin, along with having some spectacular roles since taking over Caduceus, has been doing really well RP wise and story wise.
Yep.
I love how he plays Caduceus. I'm a really big fan.
Yeah, sorry, Molly fans. Still a bigger fan of Caduceus.
So basically, from there, they get all those amazing chats. We get the gem, the new gem that I wonder if it's going to become a common saying. Stay on task, Widowgast, which was pretty great.
I love that. I loved that. It was so great.
I love that it was Salt between them because he was then asking about the Wizard Tower and he had been like really, really like even referencing his own shade to Bo and Ford in the previous episode for wanting to investigate the Wizard Tower. So it was pretty great. Yeah, Kate said I need it on a shirt. That's one of my new favorite catchphrases of the show. It has to be. But basically they finally... Go ahead.
I could see them making an actual shirt of that. Like, I could see... That's like kind of like not the best detective agency or whatever. I could see that being stay on task Widowgast.
Yeah.
And the next like joke shirt.
Yeah, maybe not like an actual shirt, but a saying on something. Like when they did the pens or the pencils
with the messages.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totes his. So they finally leave the bar. They go off because they want to start investigating this loose weave. They've heard so far that it's sort of underwater gates. It's around the docks. They're sort of discussing, they're piecing together the things they've heard from the different people they've spoken to. Someone told them that they're going to get in trouble if they go in uninvited, but Ford uses his sort of sailor skills to talk and get a rowboat off of Jimmy the sailor, loans him his boat, and in the meantime, he convinces Bo to practice her people skills, and we get to meet Tracy.
Yes! I love Tracy. So,
God, I've met so many Tracys in my life.
Tracy is wonderful. I thought Marisha played Bo playing Tracy really well. I think that it's exactly what somebody who is not really that great with people, but wants to try to be better would do in that situation. but also just makes it funny. Gives a lot of, like, they're very good at RPing, keeping on task sometimes, but also just learning stuff about the world. It's just funny to see like a character like Tracy appear. Like it's a good laugh for everybody involved. We have to remember that sometimes it's just not always about finishing. It's about the journey, and Tracy was one great thing about the journey. So, oh my,
Jess is our Laura.
I don't know. I love it so much, and I love that it, like, literally, even coming to Tracy was a process, because at first, Bo was like, Julia. He was like, no, Leslie, getting closer. Tracy, that's the one. It was Tracy. And she, like, literally played it out, letting her hair down. You know what I mean? Like, getting into character. She set up a backstory for herself, because she was like, I can't just be me or I'll fuck it up. Like, I have to be someone else. And it was so good that she wrote us. She's like, so, I'm going out. I'm like, it's the time before uni when I'm sort of finding myself.
Oh my god. Everything about Marisha playing Tracy.
I honestly kind of need more of her.
I hope she comes back, and I think that she will. I think it's sometime down the line. I really hope that actually, so getting through the part where Tracy ends up talking to the guy and actually getting some pretty good information about where to enter the sluice weave, which was, whoa. I really hope that Jim, or no, not Jim, or whatever the guy's name was, comes back. The guy that gave her the information. Merpaul?
Yeah. At first he said sort of like Mapar, and then like at the end she was like, what was your name again? Merpurple? Like, it's another example of them just messing up names. It's like Merpaul.
Mapal, according to Kate. Thank you, our own personal Danny Cam, for the information. So I really hope Mapal comes back. I
hope he goes to look for her at the
I hope
at
so.
the. Oh my god, why am I not remembering it right now? Where Jester's mom is.
Yeah.
Well, she also just told him that she was gonna like go hop on a boat or whatever, and he's like near here, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like kind of trying to keep an eye on them or like watch out for her this whole time, and might be like waiting when they come back, if they come back on the boat, which I guess is still sitting there with Jimmy or what's his name just like staring at it.
Yeah, because they said they were gonna be right back, so that was really...
Yeah, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll just watch you from the shore."
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
You come back.
I thought that was a little bit odd. But you're right, Ben. She gets really good info off him. She gets that, like, he's like, why? That's really curious. She's like, well, I'm into curiosities. Like, oh my god. So it gets a series of tunnels from centuries ago. It's ducts that guide the water from the ocean into a series of small engines, which is interesting. So the city is pretty, like, well built, good infrastructure. It's got some cool stuff in place, clearly. So it helps give power, heat furnaces, etc. She asks, is it haunted? Is it haunted? Oh my god.
Totally haunted.
It's not haunted, but, and here's the first hint of this we get, there are things down there that help maintain the ducks and occasionally help protect the bay if it's under attack. So it does seem like... Sorry, go ahead. What'd you say?
I said I missed that. I don't think I caught on to that was...
Yeah. So then, so I had been wondering from getting to the end of the episode if, no one knew those creatures were down there, but basically from what this Zalezo was saying, it sounds like they know that they have sort of creatures down there keeping shit running. So, do you guys think that, like, all those creatures we saw, or maybe just some of the water elemental types, maybe not the genie type, if all of them were part of the city's infrastructure, and if by doing what they've done, have they messed up this city's power system?
Yeah, that was one of the questions that we ended up getting from from our little questionnaire.
Oh, was it? Go ahead and read it.
Yeah. So, what if Aldor is just a skeezy public servant keeping the sewers and magically driven power supply for the city's crafters running? So, what they just did is sabotage the city's main infrastructure and damage public property, in addition to freeing Amerid, pretty much a powerful extraplanar evil prone to enslaving things itself. That was a very long question. I don't know who it's from because they didn't give a name, but thank you for that. That's kind of skipping ahead to like the ending, but it's going along with what Jess was saying. Was like, did they just?
Potentially. I don't think that they really screwed anything up. I feel like that's probably what those more minor elementals were there for, and maybe even potentially the bigger elemental. But I don't feel like it's that much of a concern. I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially since it's only one of them. And it's not anything that can't be fixed. It's not like irreparable damage, I don't think, personally. But so hold on. We do finally get this information about the sluice weave, and it's been a while. They've been asking about it to a bunch of different people. I'm surprised that no one knew about this and like knew that it existed and what it was, like, because they thought it was like maybe like an underground shady bar or something like that, like some kind of a hideout. But it turns out it's just like basically, yeah, like the sewers / like water power system to a lot of different places in the city, which I feel like most people who live in the city long enough probably know about.
I'm wondering if they were like just asking people about it, like the people that they were asking, like what where did they first hear the name Sue Sleeve from?
At the lighthouse, I thought.
Okay, so there's that, but then also the people they were asking from might not have been in town for all that long. I think that may, like, any sailors that are coming in and out don't have time to really pick up this information.
Well, but yeah, so I think Kate also said in chat from the lighthouse, so from the old lady at the lighthouse, who would have lived in that city for a very long time, and the dockmaster, who should know this thing. So I think that brings up the question, like you said, I think people sort of know, but I think some people are like, oh, it's just the in and out of water under the city. Oh, it's kind of some holes near the docks. Like, oh, like they, only from what they've seen externally. And I wonder if it has anything to do with, several people in chat said that they hope that is sort of the case, that the Mighty Nine have messed up the infrastructure of the city, because that's kind of hilarious. But Q, or Quads, has pointed out that if that is the case, then the power system of this city appears to be running via slave labor. So perhaps that is why the public was not informed of the fact that that is how they were getting their power. Because people generally don't want to know the dirty truths of, like, what makes their lives easier. Do you know what I mean? If that is what turns out to be the case, I could see that sort of being why it's somewhat secret. Something along those lines. Or maybe it's just, like, on a need-to-know basis. Maybe these people, like, you don't need to know how you're getting your heat and power. It's just kind of happening. You know, when you inform the public of how they get their heat and power, then they can start to have opinions, and they can start to question what you're doing. You don't want that. An educated public, that's gross.
Yes, Jess.
please everyone note I'm being incredibly sarcastic. Please, don't actually assume I mean this seriously.
Please clip that.
No! Oh, crap.
Oh my, that was great.
Anyway, I think we're all more likely
you.
that it's just Algar.
Yeah. There's a lot that it could be. I know Algar had been boasting about his project that was like down underneath the city, so I'm more likely to go with Herc there and being like, he was the one maintaining it, but he can't really tell people. That's why he was never able to tell the Ruby, because he didn't even.
Yeah, and I think if he was bragging about it, then it's very clear that, like, this is something that he was doing specifically. But we can continue. Let's get on to what they actually.
Yeah. Okay. So continuing on. So basically, now Frumpkin is an octopus. There are tunnels that are 100 feet long, and there's no lights in them. Just like skip.
Yep. All those things are correct.
Lots of grates with no locks that only our super buff, brawny women on the team can like bust open, because all our women be buff as heck. We have
so.
Go ahead.
I do want to pause you there. So I wasn't expecting them to just like go for this grate. I know that's what they like. They obviously did that, and they spent like half the episode just going under the water and into this thing. I was not ready for that. I was expecting them to do more research, maybe try to find more people, maybe go back to the Ruby and ask her opinions on what needs to be done. But no, they just went straight for this grate. Especially dealing with water, which everybody knows that Not hates. So there was a lot of interesting RP there as well. But
yeah,
they definitely didn't take the turn I thought it would. I thought they would take a little bit more time and a little bit more care getting ready for whatever they were going to do to try to confront Algar. But they really wanted to get in there. Like their curiosity, Matt seemed to pick their curiosity so well. Oh my god, David clipped it.
No! Damn it! You guys.
Thank you.
Okay, anyways, continuing on.
So, they just like jump in the water and do stuff. And
literally.
then, like anchor the boat.
And figuratively.
Yes. I don't know how you guys like run things when you play D&D, but I think it is a little bit crazy. Now, none of them are wearing heavy armor, but that they would all just jump in like with all of their stuff. Like I'm not a good swimmer by any means. I'm sure really good swimmers would be fine, but like when they're wearing medium armor and like holding like bags and like all other kinds of stuff like hanging from their belts and whatnot and pets, I feel like it's not normal just to jump in fully clothed, fully armored with all of your stuff, and they're just like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Yeah, like when they first proposed, Not can stand outside the boat because she literally has the ring of water walking, so she doesn't need to go in. She's fine staying on top of the water. Like that's cool. But like Ford being all like, my armor floats, flop, like right in the water with all his stuff, and Jester's like, me too. Apparently I'm watery now. Jumps in the water as like. And people in chat are pointing out in broad daylight.
Yeah.
After borrowing this random dude's boat, after just talking to a member of the city guard, basically, taking a few steps away, and then jumping in the ocean.
Yeah, can you imagine swimming in leather boots and a backpack and like a belt with like potions hanging off of it? And
yeah.
Man.
I was gonna save this for the end of the episode when we talked about what might happen next, but they're kind of screwed.
Well,
so
they did. Okay, considering everything, they did really good. I'm shocked. Like you said, Ben, I'm shocked that they chose to immediately start exploring once again something like what was described as 100-foot long tubes of water where they had to hold their breath and do constitution checks and like in the dark, and like just that was a lot to me, but they're determined, so I mean we have to give them that. That's amazing.
Which is really funny because if you compare when they were like in the swamp, like fighting the Marrow, they were like none of them wanted to go underwater except for Ford, and they were like, no, we're too scared to go under there. Can you just like go check it out? And then like they all went under and started fighting and stuff. But it wasn't really until Matt just told them the rules in D&D that it's like, oh, you can hold your breath for 4 or 5 minutes, and they're just like, okay, cool, we'll do whatever.
Yeah.
We're good at swimming, it's fine.
It's true. It's true. And I mean, I feel like Jester gives some thought to the pets and stuff. She's like, okay, I'm leaving, because like that Not doesn't want to come in the water. That like Not wants to stay behind. She has voiced it several times. So after making sure that like after making Not promise not to eat the weasel today, which was so perfect, and I think so perfect for because Not has been very honorable in everything she's said, but she just put that like caveat on it. I think is so perfect.
Yeah.
So she leaves the weasel, and you think that she's being conscious, and for a while when they were dealing with the whole pet situation, when all the pets were coughing up water and such, I was like, oh my god, where's the owl? And I remember that Bo was really smart and checked her owl in at the hotel.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that owl check-in. I'm really glad that they did the owl check-in. I think they have to get it out by like 10 a.m. the next day though. So
I think every city they go in from now on, they need to try and get a hotel with pet check-in. I think this is
definitely.
Hopefully going forward, this is an accommodation they keep in mind.
Or they just might, or their animals just might die. One of the
Yeah,
two.
I mean, the owl's the only one that could be potentially useful right now anyway. So that's the only one that could actually like be of use when they're actually out doing stuff. I mean, obviously it needs to be more well trained, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, Jess, like they did actually come out reasonably well, considering that they jumped into the ocean with all of their armor and then started like opening grates and going inside. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing. I don't think there's anything like more like dangerous and scary in D&D than to just take all of your player characters and put them underwater. Because everything that they know about how everything works changes, and we saw that with the Kraken fight, like how immensely hard that was for everybody.
Yeah.
So they came out okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, good.
I think they came out okay. I don't think that they're gonna come out okay by the end of the next episode. That's where my thing is. I understand that they did great. The fights that they ended up getting in once they got into the grates, actually they ended up doing okay. Once they realized they had to keep Caduceus alive, and that they needed to start focusing down people and really just trying to release the one guy from the from Aldar's control, release, I guess, the genie. So I know I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but they did a lot of traveling through the sewers / pipes, and then one battle with like little blobs of water, and then another final battle. The second battle I thought came on super quick, and I wasn't expecting it.
Well,
yeah, I mean, you expect something else there. So they first fought the lesser water elementals. They were basically, I mean, as far as I know, they're just modified elementals to be like lesser or minor ones.
That's what I was wondering too, because we did get some info on them when like Bo did the extract aspects, and so so based on that, they couldn't have been the full water elementals.
Yeah, they had like lesser HP and lesser constitution.
Exactly, so they would have had to have been
similar, but yeah, they weren't too difficult, and they came across pretty unscathed. So that was definitely just like a taste of what's to come. But when they did actually get to the bigger opening area, and then they do see, you know, Algar, and then his bodyguards, and then the water elemental and the Merid. And as soon as I saw this, and as soon as they started fighting, immediately, like, I immediately was just like, no, they're not going to survive this fight. There's no way, because that is way too strong. But luckily, you know, Matt had an out in there, which was like the bracelet and the collar, which I kind of missed a little bit in their, you know, original like descriptions and conversations about how those were linked. But
I think it was. Sorry, no, unless you wanted to go.
No, I was just gonna say essentially they start fighting, and what is definitely the most formidable battle that they've ever seen. Matt describes the Merid, which is extremely scary. They've changed a little bit over the editions, but it's always been a really strong creature, and it's essentially a water genie. There's one for a bunch of the different elements.
I have a picture which I will put up in. Bam! It's there.
Yeah, that's it.
That's him. The Merid. I like how Matt described him as like sort of like really big and rotund and like, but like a fishy face, and like, I didn't know what it was. I had to go searching for it. Did you guys know immediately what it was?
I knew what it was. After he used like the water jet, I knew what it was.
I'm not good at just picking that kind of stuff out.
From the description, I didn't. Because like I said, they've changed a little bit. Like that a Merid looking like that is new to 5e.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I think I remember reading the description. It was Matt's description was that it was I don't know, only 7 or 8 feet tall, and I've read some descriptions that it's big. Like, well, I guess it's a genie. I imagine it can change sizes, and I imagine it's rather versatile.
Yeah.
And shapeshifty, but like you said, the important part is that Matt describes the necklace around its throat, and that it specifically, is not very impressed, but says that I'm at your service, and that
Kind of rolls his eyes a little bit at him.
And the Algar is like, bossing it around, even though this is clearly a formidable, important creature.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what tipped Caduceus off was that there was a whisper super early on. I don't know what necessarily prompted the whisper. I didn't catch that, but like Matt just kind of goes over to Taliesin and just starts whispering. I think
it's probably from his passive perception.
I was gonna say Caduceus has a crazy high passive perception. I think it's really benefited them a bunch of times.
Yeah, I think that was why, because I don't think he wanted to just tell everyone, "Hey, that guy has a bracelet that kind of matches the Marin or whatever, their necklace or something." So I think that it had to do with they wanted to make it so that he had an out. The group had an out, but they had to keep Caduceus. Like Caduceus had to say it in such a way that made sense.
Yeah, I mean, you guys saw how the water elemental kind of handled them a little bit. Plus we didn't really know much about Algar or his bodyguards, if they, how trained or skilled they were, how difficult they might be. But like the Merit itself is like a CR11, which is probably something that the party probably couldn't fight on their own anyway, just by himself, let alone the rest of the creatures. And luckily they were pretty smart and didn't really focus on that big creature for pretty much the entire fight, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't actually do any damage to it until I think like the second fireball. Mm-hmm. But those creatures naturally have like 230 HP or something, not even including Matt's general modifications to increase that by like 1.5 in their campaign. But all in all, they were pretty smart, but God, it was still really scary.
Yeah.
It was scary.
The main thing we saw it do was its water jet at first. It sort of pushed them all back, and then it sort of left them more to its water elementals, right? And Caduceus unfortunately got the brunt of that. Like a few of them kept being... And I thought it was interesting that... do you think that they should have been a little bit more cautious after, because when they were fighting the lesser water elementals before, they kept experiencing the whelming, and Matt kept just describing how if they were captured, they were not going to be able to breathe. Mm-hmm. And so this is what we saw here. Like now we had the elementals and the Merit and oh my gosh, in addition to being swept up and sort of bludgeoned in that water stream, they were also kind of drowning constantly if they were getting caught. That's kind of terrifying to me. I don't know about you guys.
It's very terrifying to me. Like I mentioned, I'm not a good swimmer to begin with, so that kind of stuff is really scary. And it points back to why I think Matt threw those smaller ones at them first, just to kind of get them accustomed to what they were coming up to. But apparently they didn't really take good enough of a note, and they were a little overwhelmed.
Damn it! You made the pun before I could. I was waiting for you to stop talking so I could make it, and you did it.
I'm sorry.
Damn it! Mad.
But so let's talk about Algar. He was talking about how this being his project and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that some genies potentially have are wishes. And that is the only reason I would think that Algar would have this creature enslaved and be talking about it and bragging about it and having this whole project down there. It could be one of the genies that can actually grant wishes.
Do you think?
Which is kind of crazy, a pretty big deal.
I don't think, from what I'm reading, they don't come with it inherently. I imagine, Matt could easily, Matt always modifies his monsters and stuff like that. He could easily consider it to be a wish-granting genie. But, so do you guys think... Sure? Do you guys think that this is, in fact, the case of this dude's just, overstating?
Yeah, so if you look back, Jess, if you're looking at the monster manual, go back one page, you'll see a variant called Genie Powers.
Oh.
and that's something that all genies could potentially have, any of the elemental genie. And
it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, my opinion is that this is either one who could or can, or Algar thinks that it could, or maybe it already has, and they're trying to wait for them to recharge, which takes a year, something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So wishes recharge after like a year. So can the same person keep wishing from a genie in this?
No, generally, one creature can only get the wishes once.
Okay.
But you know, there might be ways around that.
Okay. Well then, do you think, if that's the case, do you think that these guys will be lucky enough to have made it happy by freeing it, or do you think they might be about to be the targets of its anger? Do you think Ford mentioned slapping the slap bracelet on his own wrist? Do you think? I feel like that could be bad news. What are you guys thinking about all that?
Well, you see. I thought there were a lot of things I wasn't ready for this episode. The last one happened right at the very end when Forrest decides to cut off Algar's hand. I'm like, oh. Okay. All right. Yeah. That wasn't what I thought would be in character at all. So that's like in Grog character. That's not. I didn't think that was in Ford character.
I feel like it is the easiest way to get rid of the bracelet and most guaranteed. And with it being such dire circumstances, I don't think it's out of character for Ford to do whatever he can to protect them. If that means cutting off a dude's hand, I don't think that's that out of character.
Yeah, but they didn't even try to get it off of their wrist.
Yeah.
True.
Well, no, he did. It's funny because he literally said, Ford says to Algar, give me that bracelet, but Matt says, like, Bo literally has him, like, knee to throat up against the wall. All he can do is gurgle. So then Ford's like, shrug, chop, like, no.
That's what makes me so hesitant to, like, I'm like, what? I'm because he was in a very compromising position. Algar was. So they didn't give him really any chance to even get the bracelet off.
Did you see what the Merit was doing to the rest of the party? One more turn and they could all be dead.
It's true.
That's fair.
Caduceus had already got... Caduceus went down twice.
Caleb was out.
Yeah.
They weren't in a good place. I think he had to act quickly, and I think the rest of the party is probably going to be happy he acted as quickly as he did. If they end up letting Algar go and he gets to go with no hand, that's better than the moment ago when he was dead. Like, that's still better for him too. Like, until the elemental gets to him and kills him, of course, until the genie has its way, because I can't help but feel like that genie was not. The genie is currently on its way to Algar.
I thought that was interesting, that the second it was cut off, the genie just drops and turns and focuses on Algar. Do you think that, like, Algar dying would have had the same result, that the genie would just, stop and be free?
I don't think so.
What kind of enchantment is on this, that it's the creature has to be, the creature that it's bound to needs to be alive, or just conscious, or
I don't know. I don't think we got enough information to really know what the specifics of it were, but I do think that probably Algar dying would have stopped a lot of things, because I feel like he was imposing his will on the genie. And then suddenly, with his will being gone, even if it's like a telepathic link through like the bracelet, there would be no force for the genie to have to follow.
But he had already made a command, so the genie was already kind of following through on a previously delivered command. So I can't help but feel like the genie would have at least continued with what it had already been doing at the very least before stopping.
Yeah, especially if the creature was just unconscious. It seemed like they didn't want to kill the creature or kill Algar, so if they just knocked him out, I don't think that would have broken the link or anything. They either had to kill him or get it off of him somehow.
Yeah.
My circumstance would be if he was dead, because then there's no force of consciousness to keep the command in place through the bracelet to the subconscious of the genie or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so I think they did good. I mean, I think they're on the genie's good side now, because they barely hurt it, and even when they did, it was with fire, which doesn't even hurt them that much. And freed him of the control. But also, Marids are one of the only two genies who aren't evil. They're chaotic neutral, I believe.
Yep.
So there's already some good. I don't know. It's easy to believe that creature might be become an ally after this.
Yeah, it's possible. So we had some theories that were given.
Okay.
In our little Google Drive questionnaire. So it seems clear that from somebody who was not named, it seems clear that the city's economy relies on the bound water genies and elementals to work their machines. Will freeing the water genie cause unexpected consequences and link them to the Ruby of the Sea? Your guys' thoughts on that?
Like I said, I like the idea of there being unintended consequences for the group that like they had not even considered, that there was like just a simple city infrastructure element to this that they had not considered, and literally the city used to certain simple ways of life is gonna be like that's gonna be reduced somewhat. I really like the idea of them having to deal with that. It's kind of a somewhat boring bureaucracy side of things, but could be very funny. I really, really like that idea. Yeah, I kind of hope they fuck shit up for the city, honestly. I think it's too funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very possible, but like I mentioned earlier, I don't think that there's any damage that can't just easily be fixed in a place like this. And especially when it comes out that Algar was doing this, because it inevitably will. He's not going to either survive this or he'll come back without a hand. They'll probably be praised for what they did, honestly.
I think that they're going to be in some deep shit for what they're doing.
Well, the law is pretty strict here, so like they might get like reprimanded a little bit, but I think in the end the good that they did is going to outweigh it.
I'm not sure if they did good though. Yeah. I think that's where I keep having the more ambiguity.
Yep.
I'm not sure what prompted them to just start. Like obviously they got attacked first. I'm not sure but they were also trespassing.
Yes.
So like of course I don't blame Algar for just being like, catch those intruders, attack them, get them out. However, it's more they were trespassing on Algar's turf, and then suddenly now when the authorities, if the authorities do come down, are like, so what happened here? And Algar, if he's still alive, is gonna tell them, especially if he was like in the previous theories thing, he was just like a city worker that happens to be in charge of the underground ducts and stuff. So they could be in some deep shit.
Yeah. I agree that I think what is interesting and what will play out hopefully next week after dealing with the Merid, like Merid first, let's do this. And then I think what's interesting that will play out is we're going to find out whether Algar was evil in terms of a larger scale, in terms of like, was this a dude doing like who knows what down here, like dark alley stuff like that people were not aware of, or was he someone doing something that was sanctioned by the city to do? Like we don't know that yet, and I think that's really interesting, and that's going to define whether or not they're the bad guys in this situation or if they're the good guys in this situation. And I think that is so hilarious that that's up in the air right now.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not super concerned about Algar and the slight damage they did to the sewers and the removal of some of the elementals. But really the bodyguards that they killed just like shamelessly and then turned into a specter, those were just like hired dudes either by the city or by Algar himself just to like walk around with him and like protect him and make sure there's nothing crazy going on. So like that was kind of straight up murder. But it's kind of funny that they were talking about the laws in Nicodranus, and a thing you should not do is murder, and then the next day they go murder.
Mm-hmm. And like the Ruby of the Sea, who in their minds they were all defending, repeatedly told them not to murder. Like repeatedly said, if you can just like scare this guy off, but don't murder him. And they're like, yeah, okay, excuse us while we go do murders. Like yeah. It's so amazing. But like I'm excited about the amount of moral quandaries we kind of have up in the air right now with Algar, with not knowing what the ramifications of this is. If the city is aware that they had slavery powering their stuff, if like maybe Algar came into the city and was like, hey, I can like make this shit work better. Like for all we know, he, you know what I mean? He did this privately. I don't know. There's so many opportunities here for us to like. There's a lot of interesting story possibilities, and I'm really curious.
Well, so if you do like want to follow that thread and think that this slavery is like a specific thing that happens for the city, then that means that there have to be other merits, right? Like, because there are plenty of other grates and like ducts and tunnels and stuff. There wouldn't just be this one right here. It'd be also in any of the others, right? So like that's my concern, is that I don't think that there are 4 other or more other genies doing this as well. I think it was just that one connected with that bracelet and that necklace.
It's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of these questions that we're throwing up right now will be solved next episode.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of figuring out what Matt wants to do with everything that they've done in this past episode, everything that they said they would do and then didn't by killing people. So we'll see. And then with our last response to our Google questionnaire, we have a couple of different theories. I would call them Kate's tinfoil hat theories, but they're not by Kate. This is by somebody by the name of Latte. Some theories that they threw out: that Tracy is based on someone in Bo's past. Ford is secretly lawful evil. Sprinkle is a fey creature in disguise with a high constitution. The Menagerie Coast has a Fusaka cellar. And Zindi the genie is related to Jester somehow.
Interesting.
All of which I love. I love these theories.
Yeah.
Well, so I was actually thinking about Tracy. I definitely think that she kind of, or at least she probably didn't think about this previously, but now very clearly will have based her on some friends or people that Bo has interacted with earlier in her life. And even potentially someone that Bo may have tried to be to fit in at some point, and maybe that's why she's so good at it, and then realized it wasn't her. But we know that she was always kind of a loner and hated people. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that really could kind of play into where Tracy comes from. The rest, maybe. Probably not, though.
I like the other ones because I think they're funny. And I think, honestly, while Tracy has the most merit to it, I think another one, that Ford being secretly lawful evil, to me, could happen.
Oh, totally.
Or, to some people, they think it's in Ford's character, but I'm wondering exactly what Ford's character is, because I feel like he's a very high charisma character.
Mm-hmm. He has tricked us and others so many times. There have been a number of times where his like real voice comes out. There have been like the amount of times he slips so easily into other characters. There's like, he acts polite, but it's almost the kind of polite that's hiding something. Like, he's really good at sort of making things happen in a certain way. He did not, like, I think some people, like, I think, Ben, you said, like, you're surprised by, like, sort of the violence at the end of the episode, but I don't think Ford has always necessarily shied away from violence. I don't think it's necessarily been too rough for him, and he seems pretty keen to immediately take this new magic. How many magic items does he already have in his magic tummy? Huh? Like, is he gonna take this, put this new thing in his magic tum-tum? Just gonna, like, stick it in there? Is gonna have some more powers? Like, I don't know.
Ben, you should know by now that you don't get Jess started on rants about Ford.
I'm sorry.
It's something we don't talk about anymore, especially after a lot of the stuff has already been disproved.
I don't care.
We don't talk about it anymore.
I don't care.
See, but I like to hear this.
But speaking of Ford, I did just want to mention a couple things. Combat related, we get to see him use his spectral ghost for the first time.
Yes, I
which
wrote
is
that down
so
and I didn't.
freaking cool.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the best abilities.
That's another thing. Did you think that was going to be an issue for him? Because he took no. Because I think we discussed. It seemed like he wouldn't know this was going to happen because a lot of his powers were like. His powers are a surprise to him. But he did not seem bothered by bringing people he had just murdered back to be under his control. He did not seem bothered by that, kid.
No, he didn't.
I
will admit that's the one time I was thinking about this. I was like, dude, he just murdered a rando dude and made him a ghost that he now controls. I don't know. That was a little bit rough. Also, he got to cast one of my favorite spells in the entire game right now, which is Thunder Step.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
I love Thunder Step
really
so much.
It's in Xanathar's Guide, I believe.
I've never seen that. Hold on. I have my whole drawer of D&D right here.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, and Xanathar's Guide is right on top.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the same thing. Like, I think I have a wizard that recently I got to add Thunder Step to, and I love it. I didn't realize like it was, but it's such a fun spell. It is so much fun. Seeing, oh my god, it's so
much fun. I love it.
Thunderstep. He used Hunger of Hadar this episode. He brought dead people back to his response. He chopped off a dude's hand. Ford is evil. Deal with it. Like, Ford is freaking and I think he might not even be intentionally evil. I think I would like to see it played out as his patron. Like, maybe he was just a nice, shy, polite guy, and his patron's kind of encouraging, that, like...
Yeah.
Because, I don't know.
No, it's
have some points.
Because potential, guys. It's what his patron wants. He's got to do it.
Mm-hmm. And this has been Jess with the annual Ford cast.
I'm sorry.
We've got to have one every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot that I think that will be discussed possibly within this next episode, or even just coming up with Ford. Because...
when they all get put into jail and the campaign ends and we start again.
Oh, okay, cool.
And we never find out
episode,
what happens.
The group goes to jail, basically.
It's only like an hour-long episode where they get put in jail, then they all get simultaneously executed, and then suddenly we have to start another campaign.
Matt just sends a text this week. So I'm going to need you all to roll up new characters. Not going to tell you why, but just do it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, he has told them to be ready with that stuff. It's not his fault that they're not ready. Like, the same goes for when oh my god, when Molly went down and it took Taliesin a while to choose a new character. He's like, I've told you guys, always have your second ready. Yeah. Always. Because you never know when I'm going to drown y'all or stab you to death or what. You don't know.
Yeah. Apparently, I remember seeing a tweet from Liam a bit ago that's like, oh, I accidentally created another character and I fell in love with him. So I think Liam's ready.
Yeah, Marisha has a backup. Most of them have backups. Yeah. But still. Those backups are like amorphous. They're not fully created with backstories that are integrated into this world and stuff.
Yeah.
Barbecue Penguin Wings in chat said the Traveler was Tracy. He possessed Bo. which would explain why at the very end Bo was like, who the fuck is Tracy?
Oh my god.
Okay, is there any last thoughts? Any last comments? Any last questions, guys?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. Just remember to all you out there that if you wanna have your input into the thing but can't be here live, we always have our Google Doc going out on our Twitter. Mm-hmm. So leave us your theories, your comments, your questions, your random Fordcasts.
Your names if you want us to call them out.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people are using it and are able to like leave anonymous comments, which is also great. It's been like we've gotten some really like the list of conspiracy theories today one was just fun.
Yeah.
We will totally read out and discuss your conspiracy theories, guys. It's hilarious for us.
They're great. So don't forget to leave us some. We'll always have them on our Twitter. if you ever need another link to them, we can get them to you.
Yep. So send us those questions, comments. Make sure you come out to the live show if you can on Twitch at Critters D&D. Follow our Twitter. Follow the podcast if you don't already. Smash, subscribe, like, all those things. You know, I'm good at this.
I thought you were talking about the Critical Role live show in New York, and I was like, that's a very specific request to tell people to come to.
Yeah, sure. Go to the New York live show, guys. If you're there, I'm not, so you go. Well, you guys go for me. Tell me how it was.
Well, Herc and Kate will be there, correct?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have 2 of our 6. Even though this is the closest I've ever been, but because of fucking school, I can't go.
Boo school. Skip school. Go to Critical Role Live.
Man, I wish, hon.
Okay, so I think that's where we're gonna end it. Thanks, everyone. I'm Jesco_JG on Twitter. That's where you can find me. That's it.
I'm Ben, and I am at Bardic Puppy on Twitter. I'd be there. I'm
Herky at Herkiavello. Don't follow me.
And that's it for us. So thanks for hanging out. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Boop.